Well, I forgot there's this little thing called the your state exam you need to take. So I decided, okay, here we go. We're going to take it. Well, I took it the first time and I failed. I said, no problem. I probably should have studied. No problem. Took it again. I failed again. I said, okay. I took it a third time, failed. I'm like, wait a minute. I took it a fourth time, failed. I took it a fifth time and failed. Now, by this time, to say I'm embarrassed is beyond that. Embarrassment been down the street. Everybody who was in my class has already taken it. They were already moving forward. I got customers lined up from my church waiting to get houses. Like, Ken, we're trying to hang on to get a house. And I'm this type, if I believe God put something in my heart, quitting is not an option.
You're listening to the Real Estate Proverbs Podcast with host Kevin Jefferson. This is the #1 podcast for African American real estate professionals who are doing extraordinary things. It's time to tune in. And now, your host, the People's Lender, Kevin Jefferson.
Welcome to Real Estate Proverbs Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Jefferson, and today we have a guest by the name of Mr. Kenneth Storey. Good evening, Kenneth.
Good evening, Kevin. How you doing?
I'm doing great, brother. How about you?
Man, I'm doing absolutely wonderful.
Awesome. For our listeners who don't know who you are, give us a little background on Kenneth Storey.
Well, I have a wonderful wife named Monica. We have been married for 28 years, been in real estate going on 25 years. On that, we have one wonderful daughter named Destiny. She just graduated this past May, so we felt like, hey, it's a new stage in our life. And currently, we are now the fortunate owners of a real estate brokerage. We have 3 offices, Maximum One Executives. One's in Alpharetta, one's in Beaufort, and one is in Duluth. And so we are doing that, have some great agents. We're very excited about that and seeing how and where it's moving and doing and just enjoying life. That's where we are.
That's awesome, man. So where are you originally from?
Originally, I was born in the outskirts of D.C. My father's military. Everybody in my family's military. I was born in Fort Belvoir, Virginia, but I grew up in Tennessee. And in 1984, moved to Atlanta. My father gave me a choice. He said, you could either go to Marines or go to the college. I let him know that, Dad, those colors don't match with me in the Marines. So here I am in the ATL.
Gotcha. Which college did you attend?
DeVry. I went to electronics. Did that. Can't fix a thing, but hey, I went there. Had a great time.
Wow. The bride. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you've got a degree in electronics?
Yes. A degree in electronics. Did that for probably 10 years. Worked for a few dang major companies. I always laugh because I tell people I didn't want to date myself, but put it this way. I was probably one of the probably first 500 people in Metro Atlanta with a cell phone in the 80s. You know, those stations, you used to have to put the base station in the trunk of your car, and it was like you was in Vietnam or somewhere. Come in. So, we did that. I don't know if you remember Bell South Mobility and all these type of companies, Northern Telecom. So it was a good season for what it was. Enjoyed it, but it definitely was not my calling.
Gotcha.
It was a paycheck, but it wasn't my calling.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So before we dive into real estate, what was Atlanta like in 1984 compared to now?
1984 Atlanta, they were still working on parts of 285. You know, so you got to remember that's where it was. Atlanta was just starting to get some energy. There was a lot of things, even if you remember, rap music was really just starting to kick in. The Braves were doing good. The Falcons. I can remember when Dion, prime time, join the Falcons, I laugh. I really date myself when we think about Hammer. Too legit to quit.
Yeah.
So, it really was just starting to come into its own and realize that, okay, we can be the leader in the South. And, Ted Turner with CNN was really just jumping off. A lot of different things were just starting to develop here in Metro Atlanta, which started attracting a lot of other major corporations to start coming and seeing Atlanta as a major hub. The airport was starting to be there, and it was an opportunity for everybody if you decided. I can remember when UPS made their headquarters as one of Atlanta here, as well as other companies that are starting to develop and seeing that. And I used to really connect. Georgia 400 had 2 lanes and there was no lights on it. That's where
wow.
it was. Wow. And we rode up to Holcomb Bridge Road and nobody knew what was beyond Holcomb Bridge Road, and you better not went past Holcomb Bridge Road. So, you laugh now when we look at it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing, man. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So who is more, we'll get to you the rest of your story. I just got a couple of questions. Who is more Mr. Atlanta, Dominique or Dion?
To me, it was, I love Dion, but I think it's Dominique. Dominique Wilkins was homegrown, being a Georgia product and everything. And when nobody was believing nothing Atlanta had, Dominique was the only one, because you got to remember the dunk contest between Dominique and Michael Jordan. I can remember everybody, on that and seeing that, and everybody with their Air Jordans who had those at first, and just seeing that. And that was somebody we were so proud of on that national level to see that. So it was always good to me. It's Dominique. I mean, now Dion took us where we wanted to be, and just taking it there. And I think that's kind of the culture that Atlanta is. Sometimes we're not the most humble people we are. We want to put it out there, and really, show you that who we are and what we believe. And, you might not agree with it, but it puts it right in your face,
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. So you're in DeVry, you graduate. Yeah. You're in corporate America. How did you get into real estate?
Well, it's really a funny, kind of sad, but enjoyable story. I've always had great jobs in electronics. Before I was out of college, 6 months into college, I was able to get a great job at a company and went forward and enjoyed it and did it there. But electronics was not my passion. And you had to have a certain mindset in electronics because technology was rapidly changing. Silicon, semiconductors were shrinking. So a lot of things became a lot smaller and technology was changing. And so what happened was I found myself in corporate America not enjoying my job. And it's so funny, a lot of the jobs I had, I'd get in a job and the managers would say, Ken, we would fire you, but we like you so much. You're such a great guy. We really enjoy you, but you can't fix anything. And I'm like, you know what? I don't like it. And I used to say, you just racist. I don't even want to be a part of it. So I was at a Japanese company. So I tell you what, I found a better job and went to a company called Northern Telecom, did it there, the exact same thing. After a while, they sent me all across the country and said, hey, you know what? Why don't you do this? This is not really working. Manager said, Kim, we'd really fire you, but we like you. You have the ideal personality. I'm like, you know what? It's just a racist Canadian company. That's what it is. I found myself over there at Bell South Mobility, working on that. I'm working on the towers and everything. And it was like, the same thing happened. The general manager, we love you, Ken. I'm like, well, I'm not going to be working here because I'm going to get fired soon. And they're like, no, we love you. Be a part of it. So, at that point in my life, I realized, and I'll be honest, I just went to God and I said, God, this is not working. I am frustrated. I'm doing my very best, and it's just not for me. Technology changed. By the time they put something on the market for the public, it's already old news and technology wise. I always laugh. I said, when you get the iPhone, they're already on the other one, because that's just how technology works. So, we've got in there. And so I decided to go on and get into the appraisals. So, and what got me into that, we bought our first house in Stone Mountain, and the lady named Brenda Strickland, and she said, hey, you are a natural. Why don't you get in sales? I'm like, get out of here. I'm not getting in those sales. She kept on. I said, I tell you what, I'm going to get in appraisals. That way I can calculate it and do it and make some money. Did appraisals for probably a year, absolutely hated it. But it taught me to understand values of homes very well. And I was doing appraisers way up in like North Georgia on trailers and all kind of things. And it wasn't always fun, but it taught me something. And then I realized I want to get into real estate. And it, from that point, was absolutely where my life totally changed. When I'm talking about real estate changed my life because of the impact it had on others. So I decided to go to real estate school. I can remember it was in Tucker over there, and there was about 100 of us in the class, and we were just enjoying it. Man, I zipped through that school, made an A. I'm like, this is nothing. I got this. This is a piece of cake. So we're moving forward. Well, I forgot there's this little thing called the your state exam you need to take. So I decided, okay, here we go. We're going to take it. Well, I took it the first time and I failed. I said, no problem. I probably should have studied. No problem. Took it again. I failed again. I said, okay. I took it a third time, failed. I'm like, wait a minute. I took it a fourth time, failed. I took it a fifth time and failed. Now, by this time, to say I'm embarrassed is beyond that. Embarrassment been down the street. Everybody who was in my class has already taken it. They were already moving forward. I got customers lined up from my church waiting to get houses. Like, Ken, we're trying to hang on to get a house. And I'm this type, if I believe God put something in my heart, quitting is not an option. So, I decided to take it again. Matter of fact, I failed it 7 times by 1 point. Now, to understand this is where it became to a point where I can remember they made an announcement in church, because I was a church leader or so. And so many people was asking me about it that they sent me in another room. Can you get something out of the pastor's office? Sure, I got it. And then they're making do not ask Ken about this real estate exam, and see that. And it was really test of my character, because you'd come up to people and the first thing they'd say, we ain't talking about real estate. You're like, really? So, it really was there. And the people was like, man, I don't see how you could keep going after that. I said, well, I believe it. And, well-meaning friends and well-meaning saints, maybe this is not what you're supposed to do. I said, well, that's not what's in my heart. But they said, you shouldn't be on like this. Hey, can't you get one more question right? By then it was probably just in my head and seeing that. Well, we kept going. So I took it the 8th time. I failed it again. Yeah, I failed it so many times that technology changed. But first, you used to get it about every 2 weeks. They would send you a paper to let you know. By then, computers have really came in the game. And they could let you stay in here. You'll know in just a second. Boom, you didn't pass. But unbeknownst to me, I was inspiring other people, because so many people at my church said, look, I failed my nurse exam one time and I said I'd never go back because there's no way. Or I failed my Series 7, investment test. I went there. So many people's like, man, you're inspiring me to do this. You're inspiring me to go forth and be a part of this. And I'm like, hey, if you believe something. Now, that didn't mean there was a lot of days I'd sit on the side of my bed and just cry like, Lord, I mean, God, everybody's laughing at me. Everybody's joking. And I mean, what do I do? And you can really hurt when you see it hurts your wife because she's hurting for you. But, I said, hey, it doesn't matter. So I took it a knife time. And guess what happened? I failed it again. So now everybody's just like, you know what, Ken, maybe God's telling you this is not what it is. I'm like, well, maybe when you talk to God, why don't you tell him to tell me that, since I apparently don't know that he hadn't told me? Because, see, you have to decide. Nobody said it would be easy what you want to do. So I came to that point. I said, you know what? I'm going to take it one more time. God wants me to get through this thing. If he wants me to pass it, I'm going to take it. Everybody's just like, you know what, Ken, they're in real estate already. They're moving forward. They're doing what they need to do. So I take it one more time and I pass it by 1 point on the 10th time. And I love that, because the thing that always inspires me, God always kind of just puts something in my spirit. He says, ain't nobody laughing now, are they? Because either they're out of real estate or they work for you. So, that's how I got into real estate. And it was like a duck to water. When I got in there, it just boom. So my battle was to get into real estate, not getting through real estate, because I know I could do that.
So taking the test 10 times over, what was the span of time? What was the time period?
I'd say 6 months or more. Even more, because remember, it's not like today and where you can just go in every other day or time. There was a time period, because it would be 2 weeks before you'd even get the little piece of paper to tell you failed. And then you'd have to reschedule. Plus you're paying for it. So, it's costing us. And I'm like, I'm all in. I stopped doing appraisals. We were all in, and really blessed to have a supportive wife and say, hey, let's do this. And if this is what you believe in, seeing that. And it has, really worked out well when we jumped in it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So at this point, your wife wasn't in real estate?
No. She was working at the church or in corporate America. And, we were able to continue going for what we had with savings and other things, and mainly because of her working. And like I said, I had customers, because the old brokerage who we went with, she's like, Ken, I'll take all these customers. She had to start taking them out the future brokerage of where I was going, because it was a while for these people to wait. And most people are not going to wait 6 months for you to go get them a house when they're qualified.
Right. You're right. So you've passed the test.
Yeah.
Now, I assume you went to work for a brokerage.
Yes, I did. Was very fortunate to have the same lady, Brenda Striction, who was always a blessing to encourage me to get into real estate. And we moved forward and jumped right on in there. And she had a very boutique-ish real estate company, so was able to hop in and learn and glean and seeing that. And did that for almost, I think, 2 or 3 years with Brenda Strickland. So it was really exciting there, and starting it and moving forward with her.
Wow, that's awesome. How long did you say you were with her?
Probably about 2 years. Yeah.
What made you switch to a different company?
Well, I had a greater opportunity. I felt that it was a greater opportunity. Went to another boutique in the Tucker area that worked really well, which was Barry Realty. And what was appealing, they had a connection with the CDC Center, and they would teach, have seminars there. So when the opportunity to do that there, got an opportunity to do some work with the CDC Center. They were putting in seminars there. So I felt like it was a greater learning opportunity to step in and learn. And they had been around for, I think, in the 70s or the 60s, if I'm correct. Her father is like one of the founding members of FMLS or something like that, or her grandfather. So they had been around a great deal of time and seeing that.
Gotcha. So at what point did you get into ownership of real estate company?
In real estate, I was at Barry for probably 2 or 3 years, and it was just very fortunate that I've just always had a lot of favor and opportunities. And it was in the late 90s. There was this new company came to town right around 1999, 2000, 2001. Little company called Keller Williams. And a friend who brought me over to Barry, Mortgage company named Stanley Caldwell. I can't remember. She used to be with like North Georgia funding or something. I don't even think the company's even in existence no more. It's North Georgia Bank. So I think they were bought out by somebody. Told me about this company coming out of Austin. She says, Ken, they flew some people down to Austin, checked it out. She said, some of the heaviest hitters in Atlanta are joining this company. She said they would talk to you. So I went and met with them, talked with them, and I was their 16th agent in Metro Atlanta. So joined right in on it, and it was a great opportunity, and really enjoyed that because that just took it to a whole nother level of what we see a real estate company can be. And we were able to really, my wife by then was joining in with me, and we really took off, learned a lot. They saw so much, not just locally, but nationally. And I think that was the big picture, that real estate was really a big business because they were making it a big business. And you really looked at it and really had some great opportunities to glean from people like a Brian Fair, who is one of their Keller Williams' largest, brokerages that owned part of Keller Williams. And we were able to invest and become a little part owner of one there. And we did that for a season as well, and seeing that. So, and then after that, we did some other things. We started some churches in South Carolina, my wife and I, and then we did some things in Jacksonville, even though we still had our business going here, because we did a lot of REOs in 2007, 8, 9. I don't know if you was around here, but there was a little things happening when the real estate, kind of imploded. So our REO business, we were doing like 100 listings a month. And we had 8 people on our team. It was bananas, but it was really a blessing for us. So it gave us an opportunity to work with a lot of large banks such as Wells Fargo and Ocwen and Regions, because we were handling all their bank foreclosures. So, we had sold tons of them and seeing that. And, we wanted to help out. And so we had our real estate business going well, but we wanted to help. We started some churches, did some things there, helped like our parent church down in Jacksonville. So we did that. But I wanted to come back after, I think it was almost 8 years. No, 5 years, excuse me. In 5 years, came back to Atlanta because we still were coming back and forth because our business was still here. And some things changed, was time to make a change. The big corporate real estate company didn't appeal to me no more. And the rah-rahs and going to conventions every year, I wasn't about to go to nobody's convention no more. That was it. I told them, stop the bus and let me off. And so it was funny one day, just going through changes, just not really knowing where to go, and really just prayed about an opportunity that was a company in Alpharetta down the street. And it was Maximum One. And through some circumstances that I won't tell you right now, that took opportunity, and from 45 days joining the company, 45 days later, we was owning the company. Wow. And so, yeah, that's what I tell people. That was a God thing, I tell people, and seeing that. So that was exciting. And now, here we are now, moving forward in that.
So how long have you owned Maximum One?
Right at 5 years.
Okay.
5, 6.5, if you want to say 5 years, 5.5, in seeing that. Because I was
that's right as the market start to shift up and REO start to shift down.
That's exactly what it is. Somebody's on in my footsteps.
He is.
That's
It's
it.
got to.
That's exactly it. Some people, I tell people, I'm not always necessarily the conventional and everything. And I love real estate and I'm believing all the high tech, high touch and all those things over there. But you know what? You better be led and known to do it, because what happens in real estate today, hey, if you know some good idea, let's jump over there and let's do this. Okay, no, let's do this. It's in the leads, it's in that and seeing that. But what is setting you out? And I'm just a believer of that. There's this verse, here it is, trust in him with all your heart, lean not to your own understanding. But if you acknowledge him, he is life is like this. You better learn to play chess, not checkers. Chess is strategically moving. Checkers, you just jump whatever come your way. And then you wonder, I don't know how I got here. So it was a great, it was a great transition in seeing that. And real estate, timing is everything, You have to understand in seeing that. And so, when we made that move and things just really worked, and like you said, the REO market totally shifted, totally moved differently, and real estate totally has picked up in seeing that. And we've been very, very, very fortunate and blessed that we've always been the right time.
Wow, that's amazing, man.
Yeah.
And just to hear the story and the progression, and as you transition from one company to the other, it's always been a progressive transition.
Yeah.
From partial owner to joining a company for 45 days, and then 45 days later owning the company.
Yeah.
I've never heard a story like that before.
Yeah, I tell people, and I'm just a big believer that seeing what his kingdom can do, because he says, seek first my kingdom, my way of doing things, and not our own way of doing things. It'll all work out. He says, don't worry about what you're going to eat, what you're going to wear, all of that. Just seek what I'm telling you to do, my way of doing it and doing it. And it has just been miraculous. And a lot of people can't get out of here. I'm like, okay, you can check. I was there for 45 days and went down the street, and it was just something. And the company imploded, just happened to be there, imploded. And got a email saying, hey, we're leaving the company. We don't believe in it. The people who were running at that time, we don't believe in it. It's not working. We don't think it's a good thing. We're starting our own company, and you got to make a choice. Either stick with their company, Maximum One, or come with ours. And I'm like, wow, what are we doing? And we were still, trying to do a little bit of REOs, and you can't just move anywhere because you're based on your zip code and where you were at. So I'm like, oh man, I can't move. I'm going to lose my little bit of REOs, that we do have left. And I'm like, man. And then the founder of the company, Dave Kabat, who is just a super duper guy, happened to send the email out and said, hey, I don't know what's going on. The company is doing really well. We're a great company. And I don't know why, these people are leaving or saying that and doing that. And I knew your grandmother better than I knew Dave Kabat, in seeing that. And it was just right then and there. My wife and I, we just prayed. I said, hey, I'm getting a download from God. Here we go. And we just typed up an email and sent an email, exactly what God told us to write on the email, sent the email over to Dave Kabat. Like I said, did not even know, really didn't know how to even say his name. Didn't know whether it was Kabat. I didn't know how to pronounce his name, and sent it over. And I'm thinking this man is, losing the office. He doesn't have time. First of all, he didn't know me. We weren't really doing any kind of business. So it's not like we were some heavy hitters now that he might recognize. And the email came over and he just said, Ken, my wife and I, when we read the email, it was like the peace of God just told us that these are the ones. So a few moments later, I think 2 hours, it might have been 2 hours later, he emailed. So we sent the email over to Dave Kabat, and he came back and said, hey, how would you like to own a Maximum One? And I'm like, what? So he set up a meeting like a day or two because, you know, we really wanted to stay in Alpharetta and seeing that. And we met with him and we just talked and it would just hit it off. And it was nothing but like the Spirit of God in the midst of everything. And he's like, hey, how would you like to own it? And I was saying, hey, I don't have the money. And he said, don't worry about it. He started telling us some more. I said, hey, I don't have the money because I don't want to waste this man's time. He said, don't worry about it. And the next thing he said something else, and I was about to say, hey, I don't have the money. My wife hit me in the chest, said, the man said, don't worry about it, didn't he? And we were able to, to pay him later on. And it just is absolutely worked out. And to tell you how good it got, that it was nothing but a God thing. We were met with him, and within the first week or two, he says, you talk about our company better than I talk about the company, and I'm the founder of it. He says, you have energy and compassion, because the thing that I wrote in the email was, Mr. Kabat, there's only two people I've ever been really impressed with in real estate. And one of those persons was Gary Keller of Keller Williams and Maximum One, the way you have it structured. And I'd really love for you to have still have a Maximum One in Alpharetta. He says, man, the way you talk about it, you should be our franchise director. So within 45 days, a few days later, I'm owning a franchise and I'm the franchise director, my wife and I.
Wow. Yeah. So at this time, when you and your wife took over ownership, how many agents were left?
There was, at that time, zero, because we didn't have none. They all had to go to his company. We had zero starting off with us. We hadn't even have a location. We have nothing. So all of them, whatever they had about 40 agents left at that office. Half of them went with the new company. The other half went back to Dave Kabat's headquarters, which was in East Cobb at that time, and joined with him in seeing that. So in the Alpharetta office, we had big goose egg, zero.
Wow.
We had nothing but a desire. That's how many agents. And if you want to count my wife and I, that's two.
Two.
Two with location.
So how did you grow the business?
Well, it was nothing but another opportunity. What we knew, the one thing we did, we knew real estate and we knew customer service and treating people the way we want to be treated and seeing that. So after finally a search of finding a location and getting that, and that was a miracle in a sense by itself, because you're a new business owner with no history, with no real money and everything, and got a prime location right off Windward and Alpharetta, which is the main street in Alpharetta. We were across the street from a $1 billion company, a little company called Nexus Lexus, just a little bitty company. Exactly. So we were able to move in there, and that was just nothing but the favor of God. And I can remember our first agent who came over, a girl named Elena. We didn't have our place painted, nothing like that, nothing yet. She just said, hey, I heard about this company and I want to join it, and I need to join it now because I'm writing contracts tomorrow. I want to join. I said, we don't have none of that. I don't care about none of that. And she just joined us, and, we continue being faithful over that one little location, my wife and I, and it just started growing. And we had a daughter who was in Alpharetta High School. So we were doing that, and our daughter would come help us. We'd pick her up, and we was there, and it was just us two. And it was, challenging at times. But again, we're people of faith. And if we believe in something and you see it, and if you have a passion, a desire, and willing to go forth on it. So, the one became two, the two became four, and, it started growing and seeing that.
So let's fast forward to your second location. When did you guys establish the second location?
Well, the second location was in Beaufort, and it was really the most challenging time in this. My wife Monica had started getting gravely ill. I mean, and we went to 22 doctors, and they had no idea what was wrong with her, and they just said, "We don't know. We don't think she's going to make it." And what had happened was she was to the point she dropped down to 70 pounds. And so she's about 5'6", 5'7", and she was weighing 70 pounds. And if I touched her on her shoulder, her leg, she would holler like somebody was beating her. And we were just going to specialist after specialist, spending every dime, trying to keep the business going, moving forward. And we just continued praying and believing. And through all that, we would still pick up a few agents and keep doing that. And I felt like, you know what? If you believe something, you keep moving forward. See, so through all the difficult, our daughter and I, because the wife couldn't even really go anywhere. And we just decided we're going to Beaufort. So my daughter and I found a place in Beaufort, set it up. Our daughter was 17. Sometimes she would sit at the front desk and work after school and say, "Hey, welcome to Maximum One." So we opened up that location in Beaufort, and I can remember when we opened it up, well, our wife was there. She couldn't even walk around the Beaufort office. She just had to sit in a chair at the grand opening and if we showed the picture, you would look, because I don't know if you know what an adult who now weighs 70 pounds looks like, sunken in face and clothes that were just falling off her because she could not, see it. And the prognosis was very gray that, they said, "We don't think she's going to make it." And I said, "Well, that ain't what God told me. It's not what his word says."
So when did you guys get the third location?
We got third location. It was funny. A young lady named Patty told us about, "Hey, there was this guy I wanted you to meet named Sergio. You may know him." And met Sergio Jr. and their auntie. And they came in and was supposed to just be there for, an hour. I think we talked three or 4 hours. And I remember her pushing her appointment, a listing appointment, back further and further, calling, "I'm sorry, I'm running behind." And it just it was a natural click. And he had a team. And so once we saw there was a team already in Duluth, we said, "Hey, we're willing to open up office." We had that territory, the territory of all of Gwinnett. And we opened it up in their temporary location. And then we moved to a permanent location off Breckenridge. And the rest, let's say, is history on that. And that just grew tremendously. And he had been such an asset to us and coming on board. And it was another one of those God things, We prayed for what we needed. We needed somebody tech savvy, understood technology, understood my wife and I, and it was Sergio.
Wow,
yeah,
that's amazing. Sergio is a great guy.
Yeah,
senior and junior. I mean, it's genuine as they come.
Yep, that's exactly what it is. So
as genuine as they come. So how many agents do you guys have total now?
I think we're probably around almost 160, maybe give or take a little more. So it's, steadily, hitting it and getting it and growing. And we're doing really well. We'll probably, as far as transactions this year, we'll probably come close to doing 800 transactions, probably maybe close to $250 million in sales volume.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Do you know what you did in 2020?
20, we did 542. So this year we're going to jump, almost 300. And people said, "Well, how do you think you're going to know it?" I said, "Because that's what I said I wanted to do, and I put it out there." And we're right at halfway now.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's it. We have what we say. So I believe that's what I said. We're going to do 800. So when you get checked with me on December 31st, I'm going to tell you we did 800.
Or more.
Yeah, at least 800 for sure.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So are you and Monica actively selling real estate now, or are you running the company?
Running the company. It's been a while. I sold my sister a house the last year, one house, and I said I'll never ever do it again. And my sister's name is Monica. So Monica, my wife, took out Monica, my sister. So her name is Monica Storey, and my wife's name Monica Storey. So they have their little battles. No, I'm the original Monica Storey. No, I'm the Monica Storey. And after I did that, I said I would never, ever sell another piece of real estate. Because once you've got out of it for a while and seeing that, but we invest our time and energy into helping the agents and, who are hungry, who, tech savvy, and getting them more involved into the day of selling it. So we just help manage it.
So what is the goal in terms of, is there a monetary goal that you want for your company, or is there a number of agents that you'd like to have?
Well, I think, it's a combination, and I think you got to look at what your vision is. And the vision is, so many people say, I just want to make or do or get something. I want to try to help and reach as many agents as we can with the Maximum One brand. I believe the Maximum brand is a great brand. So we at least want to open up at least 2 more offices personally and bring in somebody who's even sharper than us to even expand it, because I believe you should always have a succession plan from day one, something you're thinking about. So we want to reach as many, but one of our big goals is to franchise, to get the Maximum One brand out there. I can see a Maximum One going all around this nation and seeing that MX1, and seeing that. So one of the things we want to do is, one, establish our own personal business and seeing that, and continue developing, helping agents, and reach a number probably around 500 or more agents, and seeing that, and then continue expanding the Maximum One franchise to reach, first I like to say is this: we're surrounded currently, there's probably about 23, 24 Maximum One offices. So we've surrounded Atlanta. Now we're about to take Atlanta. And I like to tell people, we're just like Sherman. We just ain't gonna burn Atlanta down. So we're gonna take it. And so goes Atlanta, so goes the Southeast. So goes the Southeast, so goes America. And then we wanna take it abroad and seeing that. So, and I'm a big believer, when you speak what you want, we knew we needed certain people to come on board and to help us with the vision and the plan. And so those individuals that we needed, the tech savvy people or the right administrative, we have 3 great branch managers, and seeing that. So it's just building a team. And so, I think it's an opportunity to really expand the brand, because we've seen some of the other brands, that little company I was telling you out of Texas that kind of grew a little bit. We saw, it started from nothing, and seeing that it, can grow. And I think with the right vision, the right plan, that it can really expand into something wonderfully. Yeah.
All right. So Maximum One is only in Atlanta?
Well, no, it's in Atlanta. We're in also Macon and northern parts of Georgia, like Rome, as well as in the Cartersville area. We are, of course, in Dawsonville, Gainesville. So it's expanding. We're all on the south side. We have some great franchises down on the south side as well, in Fayette, and Peachtree City, McDonough, but we're also now in Alabama. So it's on the outskirts, just right across town in Alabama. So it's going to be expanding quite soon. We believe we will be in multiple states, if not this year, next year, that's what we're visioning and that's what I'm speaking and believing that we will be.
Well, that's amazing, man.
Yeah.
I've been in real estate since 2004.
Okay.
And I've never quite heard a story like yours.
Yeah.
I've been to NAR, to the conference twice. I've been to CRS classes with different people from around the country. I'm an avid podcast listener to real estate, and you and Miss Monica have a unique story. I wanted to get you guys on because I had never, well, not never, it's very rare that you see an African-American broker owner, right?
Yeah.
And I wanted to get your story and your insight so that someone else who aspires to do those things or has that lack of confidence can see someone who looks like them and say, hey, if the stories can do it, that means it can be done. And I can.
That's exactly.
And that's the whole premise of my podcast, man, is to highlight African-American professionals who are doing amazing things. And I've watched from afar, even before, my partner went there, I was watching just to see. The podcast hadn't even thought of. I'm just a fan of Black business, right? So I want to give you your flowers while you're here. You guys are doing an amazing job.
Thank you.
While this is a large area, it's still small, and I haven't heard anything but great things about you guys. The biggest thing that I hear is you have a heart for the people.
Well, thank you. That means a lot to me. That's, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I know some smart cats. I'm talking about cats who are the smartest cats in the room. But people are not impressed with that. People want to be genuinely in seeing that. And if you value everybody, and if you know everybody has a gift, you want to get the gift what's inside of them. So you know there's treasure in it and you want to look out and seeing that. So I think it's something that we all need to see and do.
We do.
Yeah.
We do. So Ken, for anybody who wants to get in contact with you, hear more about Maximum One Realty and possibly joining your team, how can they reach you?
Well, you can always reach me, call direct numbers. You can go to, I want to give you my phone number. They can reach me at, it's at 770-835-4311. Again, that's 770-835-4311. Or you can email me at storeyatl@AT&T.com. That's Storey, STOREYATL@AT&T.com.
That's awesome, man. I've appreciated your time, brother. I promise you there's going to be a part 2. Even if it's a 5-minute segment, just to see if we hit the 800 transactions or better.
Yeah, well, we definitely would do that and seeing that, and anything we can do. That's my goal, is to inspire. One of my friends call me jumper cables, because every time you get with me, I'm gonna spark you up.
That's awesome, man. Well, listen, this has been the Real Estate Proverbs podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Jefferson. My special guest, Mr. Kenneth Storey. We thank you guys for listening. Stay tuned for part 2. Have a great night. If you like this podcast, please like, subscribe, share, and comment. And I'm your host, Kevin Jefferson. Have a great day.